Throughout history, men have searched for the hidden keys that unlock feminine desire. Women may seem mysterious, but attraction follows patterns. Deep psychological patterns that are written into human nature. And here's the surprising truth. Women across ages and cultures are consistently drawn to older men who embody certain qualities. It isn't just about age, it's about the mastery, the presence, and the depth that older men bring when they understand themselves and the world. The philosopher Byung-Chul Han reminds us that modern life often weakens our capacity for true depth. In a society obsessed with speed, endless scrolling, and surface-level stimulation, the man who slows down, who cultivates self-control, and who radiates authority becomes magnetic. Women can't help but notice why. Because such a man embodies rare energy, a presence that cuts through the noise. Today, we'll uncover the hidden tricks that transform older men into irresistible figures of desire. These are not cheap pickup tactics or shallow games. These are deep principles rooted in psychology, philosophy, and timeless masculine strength. Women do not fall for the man who chases desperately. They fall for the man who holds himself like a fortress. They crave the older man who has mastered his emotions, his words, and his energy. So if you've ever wondered why women light up around certain men and grow cold toward others, listen closely. By the end of this speech, you'll understand the 7 tricks that older men use to inspire respect, admiration, and longing. Let's begin. Part 1. The Power of Emotional Stillness. Byung-Chul Han often critiques our age of constant stimulation, an era where silence and stillness are almost extinct. Yet women are instinctively drawn to men who embody calmness. Emotional stillness signals mastery. It shows that you are not ruled by impulses, gossip, or the chaos of the world. An older man who has cultivated stillness doesn't overreact. He doesn't text her every 5 minutes, he doesn't panic when she pulls away, and he doesn't collapse when faced with rejection. Instead, he observes, he listens, and he responds with measured strength. This is rare, and rare is attractive. From a psychological perspective, stillness triggers safety in a woman's nervous system. She feels that this man can handle storms without falling apart. She senses that he is a rock, not a reed swaying in the wind. This makes her desire him. Because women naturally test men's resilience. When you remain still, when you do not break under pressure, you pass tests without saying a word. Byung-Chul Han would say that such stillness is a resistance against the burnout society, where men drain themselves seeking approval. The older man who has learned restraint becomes an oasis in a desert of chaos. Women lean toward him not because he chases, but because his presence is like gravity, quiet yet impossible to resist. Part 2. The Aura of Selective Attention. The second trick older men master is selective attention. In a world of distraction, the man who knows where to place his focus becomes powerful. Women are wired to notice how a man uses his attention. If he throws it away cheaply, liking every photo, chasing every skirt, desperate for validation, he weakens his value. But if he is selective, if his attention feels earned, then it becomes intoxicating. Psychologists know that scarcity increases value. Byung-Chul Han explains that modern society cheapens meaning because everything is available, everything is fast, everything is consumed instantly. But when a man slows down and invests his attention deliberately, he creates weight. A compliment from him is worth more than 100 from boys who beg for approval. An older man who understands this doesn't rush to please. He does not spread himself thin. He observes the woman, waits, and chooses carefully when to reveal his interest. This selective attention tells her subconscious mind that he is a man of abundance, not scarcity. He doesn't need her, he chooses her. And that difference makes her chase him. Think about it. Women are surrounded by men who throw attention recklessly. But when she meets a man who withholds it, who measures it like gold, she leans in. She wants to earn it. She desires to be seen by him because his gaze is not ordinary. It is rare. and rarity is magnetic. Byung-Chul Han would call this an active resistance against the culture of endless consumption. The older man who chooses carefully, who protects his energy, who refuses to waste his time on trivial pursuits, becomes a figure of authority. And women desire authority, not in the sense of domination, but in the sense of direction. They crave the man who knows where he is going, and who decides carefully who walks beside him. One of the most underrated tricks older men master is the art of boundaries. Byung-Chul Han argues that today's society collapses distinctions. Everything is exposed, everything is available, and nothing is sacred. In relationships, this creates a problem. Too many men think love means unlimited access, constant availability, and endless sacrifice. But women don't respect that. Desire fades when a man loses his edge. Boundaries signal self-respect. They say, "I am willing to share my world with you, but I will not abandon myself for you." Older men who have lived, failed, and learned understand this deeply. They know that giving everything away too quickly destroys attraction. A woman must feel that she is stepping into a man's protected territory, not walking all over his life like it's an open field. From a psychological perspective, boundaries create polarity. A man who can say no without guilt shows strength. A man who doesn't answer every call instantly, who doesn't agree to every request, and who doesn't bend just to keep her happy, such a man triggers admiration. Why? Because he communicates that his mission comes first. He is not desperate for approval. Byung-Chul Han would say that boundaries resist the culture of excess positivity, where everyone tries to be endlessly available. But women find men most desirable when they stand firm in their limitations. It is this very firmness that creates mystery, respect, and long-term desire. Remember, a man without boundaries becomes invisible. A man with boundaries becomes unforgettable. Part 4. The Discipline of Self-Mastery. The fourth trick that sets older men apart is their discipline. Byung-Chul Han warns that in today's burnout society, people mistake freedom for indulgence. But real freedom is mastery, the ability to control oneself rather than being controlled by desires, impulses, or addictions. Women sense instantly when a man has mastered himself. They notice if he maintains his body, if he controls his tone, if he regulates his emotions, and if he chooses his habits carefully. Self-mastery radiates in his posture, his speech, and his decisions. And this discipline is deeply attractive because it signals reliability. Psychologists call this predictability and dominance. A man who cannot master himself cannot protect or guide anyone else. But a disciplined man, especially one seasoned by age, signals long-term stability. He shows her that he doesn't crumble under temptation or laziness. He shows that he can lead not only himself, but also those who follow him. Byung-Chul Han emphasizes that true strength lies in restraint. In a world where men binge, overshare, and overreact, the man who practices control becomes extraordinary. Women desire older men not just because of age, but because many of them have already outgrown reckless impulses. They've refined their power. They've turned chaos into order. And order is what women crave when choosing who to admire, respect, and follow. Self-mastery doesn't mean perfection. It means showing progress, structure, and focus. An older man who invests daily in growth, whether in fitness, wisdom, finances, or mindset, becomes magnetic. His discipline becomes his advertisement. His presence whispers, "I am the man you cannot easily replace." Part 5. The Mystery of Silence and Scarcity. The fifth trick older men master is silence, and with it, the aura of mystery. Byung-Chul Han reminds us that in an age of constant communication, silence itself has become rare, almost revolutionary. Most men overshare. They drown women in explanations, compliments, and confessions. But older men who have mastered attraction know that silence creates tension, and tension creates desire. Why? because women are wired to fill the gaps. When you say less, she imagines more. When you don't reveal every detail, she becomes curious. When you pause instead of chasing, she begins to lean forward. This silence makes her work for your attention. It makes her wonder what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and why you're not giving yourself away so easily. From a psychological standpoint, mystery activates pursuit. The unknown is more alluring than the fully revealed. A woman who knows everything about a man too quickly loses fascination. But an older man who keeps layers hidden makes her crave discovery. He becomes an unfolding book, rather than a finished pamphlet. Byung-Chul Han criticizes the pornography of transparency in modern life. The idea that everything must be exposed, visible and consumed immediately. But women secretly love the opposite. They desire the man who withholds, who protects his inner world, who does not post every emotion online or confess every thought at once. Scarcity is power. If your time, words, and presence are scarce, they gain weight. Every moment with you becomes valuable. Every silence becomes charged. Women chase mystery, and mystery thrives in silence. An older man who understands this doesn't just talk less. He communicates with pauses, with calm eyes, with deliberate words. And that more than any speech makes him unforgettable. One of the deepest reasons women are drawn to older men is their sense of purpose. Byung-Chul Han reminds us that in modern culture, people drift without meaning, consumed by productivity for its own sake. But the man who knows why he lives, what he stands for, and where he is going becomes a beacon in a confused world. A younger man often stumbles, still searching for his identity. But an older man who has faced failure, hardship, and victories learns to sharpen his mission. His life has direction. His words carry weight because they are tied to experience. And women instinctively feel this. They are drawn not to the man who begs for their attention, but to the man who pursues a vision bigger than both of them. Psychology tells us that women are deeply attracted to status signals, not just money or power, but signs of purpose. A man devoted to building, creating, and leading is more attractive than a man who wastes his life, drifting from one distraction to the next. When a woman feels she is entering the orbit of a man with mission, her biology ignites. She doesn't want to be his whole world. She wants to join his journey. Byung-Chul Han warns that in our achievement society, many chase empty goals. But women see through emptiness. They crave authenticity. The older man who builds a life of meaning, whether through his craft, his leadership, or his wisdom, becomes magnetic. Purpose is the fire that lights up his presence, and women feel the heat of that fire the moment they meet him. Part 7. The Charm of Detachment. The final trick older men master is detachment, the ability to connect without clinging. In philosophy and psychology, this is one of the highest forms of strength. Women may test, they may pull, they may provoke, but the man who remains calm, who never loses himself, is the man they desire most. Detachment doesn't mean coldness. It means loving without losing self-respect. It means being present without being desperate. It means giving without collapsing into neediness. And this paradoxically makes women want you more. Why? Because nothing is more magnetic than a man who chooses you, but doesn't need you. Byung-Chul Han critiques modern culture's obsession with total exposure and dependence. But true masculinity is grounded in independence. A woman feels most desire when she knows you could live without her, but you prefer life with her. That subtle balance of strength and freedom ignites attraction at its core. Psychologically, this taps into what researchers call the paradox of desire. People want what they cannot fully possess. If you remain slightly out of reach, not by playing games but by living a full life, she will chase. If you are detached from outcome, if rejection doesn't shake you, if approval doesn't define you, you radiate unshakable confidence. Women admire this. They respect it. They desire it. An older man who has lived through heartbreaks, who has seen love come and go, often develops this calm detachment naturally. He no longer begs. He no longer fears losing someone who doesn't value him. And that very calmness flips the script, making women lean in, wanting to prove themselves worthy of staying in his world. Ending, becoming the man women can't resist. So, what have we learned? Women don't endlessly desire men who chase, beg, or surrender themselves. They desire men who embody presence, depth, and mastery. They are magnetized by older men not merely because of age, but because of what that age represents: stillness, boundaries, discipline, mystery, purpose, and detachment. Byung-Chul Han teaches us that modern society weakens depth, but the man who cultivates himself stands apart, and in standing apart he becomes irresistible. The tricks we've shared today are not manipulation, they are principles of strength. They are ways of being that transform you into a man who doesn't just attract women, but commands respect from everyone. Remember, women don't fall in love with your need. They fall in love with your independence. They don't crave your desperation, they crave your discipline. They don't chase the man who empties himself. They chase the man who builds himself. So as you walk forward, don't ask, how can I impress her? Ask instead, how can I master myself? Because when you master yourself, you master the game of attraction. And women will not just notice, you will feel them gravitate toward you, pulled by the invisible force of strength, purpose, and calm. Be the man who doesn't crumble. Be the man who doesn't beg. Be the man who stands firm in a weak world. That is the man women cannot stop desiring. And that, my brothers, is the path of true masculine power.